some comparisons in cities for major stars, and maybe we could figure out who is the bigger star of the two. Let's start off right here. We're at the United Center in Chicago. Let's go hockey and baseball here. Patrick Kane or Chris Bryant. Who do you think, KB or Kaner, as the bigger star in the Windy City?
Yeah, pretty tough. I'm going to go with Chris Bryant. Even though Patrick Kane's teams have won more championships, I'm looking at this individually. And all right, both are MVP caliber players. Bryant got one in his second year. He's a Rookie of the Year. We know Kaner's an MVP caliber player for the Chicago Blackhawks. So I'm going to go with Bryant because I think even though there was that stretch of success where they won 3 cups in, 6 years, this is a Chicago Cubs and a Chicago Bears town. So Chris Bryant, because they're almost indistinguishable individually at how they rank relative to their peers in each sport. Again, MVP caliber player, you can't really get much better than that. I think Kaner's been a little bit more consistent, but the best of Kaner and the best of Bryant are about the same. So who's the bigger star? From someone who's not from Chicago, I'd guess Chris Bryant.
Well, I think you nailed this one on the head. I hate agreeing with you on this, but I do remember my first trip here in Chicago was when the Blackhawks were in the midst of another cup run. And I asked my cabbie, what's the biggest sports story here? And he said, well, obviously with the Hawks and with the... He said, but if the Cubs forever win a World Series, that would trump everything. And lo and behold, Chris Bryant, a huge part of that 2016 World Series championship. That World Series championship has endeared, guys like Rizzo and Bryant forever. Not that Kane hasn't with their 3 titles, but I do think that one is actually even bigger than the 3 in the city of Chicago. I'm with you. It's Chris Bryant. Now, out in Denver.
Who says cabbie, by the way?
What? It's a cabbie. My cabbie. Nice guy. Nolan Arenado out there, we know he might be the best third baseman in all of Major League Baseball, up for debate. And I know how much you love Nikola Jokic. So is it Jokic or is it Arenado in the Mile High City?
Man, this one may be even tougher than the last question that we answered regarding Bryant and Kane. If I take away my bias, I do love Nolan Arenado. I think he's a great third baseman. Take away my bias because Jokic is one of my favorite players in the NBA for his unique style. I think Arenado by a hair. I don't know. This one is so hard for me to answer because, again, when I think of where Jokic compares or stacks up relative to his peers in the NBA and where Arenado stacks up, I think they're about the same. I don't think Arenado's the best player, just like I don't think Jokic is the best player, but I think they're both top 10. And I guess Arenado, just because he's been around longer and been a little bit more consistent, this one is so hard.
I don't think it's as hard as you're making it out to be. I'm agreeing with you that it's Arenado, but I think it's Arenado by a length, a furlong, whatever that would be in horse racing terms.
Do you remember what Jokic did in the postseason last year?
But
his first ever, it was a triple-double machine.
I think they look at Jokic as part of a really good team that was a 2-seed out west this year, and he's the leader of that really good team. I look at the Rockies and go, all right, we're decent, but Arenado is by far, in a way, our best player, our most talented player. So as I know how much you love Jokic, and I know how talented he is, but I think in Denver, they go, no, Arenado is the guy here. He's the cash cow of the city. So I think right now, I got to go Arenado, and I don't think it's as close as you make it out to be. Is that fair?
As the question is laid out in front of us, who is the better All-Star? I'm going to say, you know what?
5-1.
It's a tie.
It's 5-1 Arenado.
In terms of what?
All-Star appearances.
Well, he's just been around longer.
Okay,
that's not his fault.
I tell you what you should do. Ask your cabbie. What about down in the ATL? Is it Freddie Freeman or is it Julio Jones down by the schoolyard?
This one's a little bit easier. Julio Jones.
Whoa.
Julio Jones is one of the best football players on planet Earth. At his position, he's no worse than the 3rd best in the NFL. And when you compare him across all positions, he's one of the most dominant players in the entire National Football League. I mean, it speaks to the depth that they have at that position, wide receiver in the NFL. But Julio Jones, name something he can't do on a football field. Name it.
Kick?
I bet he could. Freddie Freeman, as great as he is, because there's not much he can't run.
No.
Is his defense as good as, say, an Eric Hosmer's? No.
Okay.
But he's a great hitter, a great hitter, a great hitter. Julio Jones is a prototype, an archetype of what a wide receiver should look like and act like. I mean, he literally, you never hear four wide receivers being divas. Who is the least diva of the greats? You never hear about Julio Jones doing anything. He is. This one, to me, was the easiest one to answer, as great as Freddie Freeman is. Because this is not to take away from Freddie Freeman, who can stand up to any first baseman in all of Major League Baseball. Yeah. He's not on Julio's level.
Don't take this the wrong way, ATL. It's a terrible sports town, first and foremost, right? Now, in that terrible sports town, I think Freddie Freeman is the most beloved of the bad sports town, right? It's just not good. But I agree with you that Julio Jones is more talented. Freddie Freeman's great. Julio Jones is on a different level of great.
Agreed.
Right? So if we're just talking about the athlete here, the better play, it's Julio Jones. To me, that's not close. But I do think that Freddie Freeman, again, it said bad sports town. I've asked cabbies about it.
I think Atlanta United fans would like to chat with you. That's a great soccer sports town.
Soccer.
They love it down there.
They've already moved into how many different stadiums for the baseball team? This is the third one.
So?
Right?
Well, and
they've lost a hockey team. Right?
Wow, I mean, that's
and nobody
hockey
goes to Hawks
in the
game.
Southeast.
And you got a really good team down there in the Hawks.
Hockey in the Southeast.
Go show up for your basketball team. They show up for soccer.